There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. My name is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, your host. Today is October 20th, 2022, and it is such a great pleasure to welcome Kathy Kalageras. How did I do?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Kalageras. And it's Greek. And she is a wonderful, wonderful violist. Am I saying that right?
I say it violist, but it's kind of like tomato.
Oh, okay. And it's a wonderful instrument. Many people call it a large violin, which it is. But it has a different tone, and it's has lower key strings, and it's beautiful. But Kathy's going to explain all of that to us. So welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, nice to see you. And tell me how you got started in your musical career.
I got started the same way an awful lot of kids do. I had a music class in school, and they had a couple of professionals come in and play for us. It's been so long ago that I don't remember exactly where they were from, but it might have been our music teacher. And we listened to several different instruments, and I chose the violin. I went home and told my parents, I'm playing violin. You get to pay for it. And that was the beginning of everything. That was violin, and I played violin until I went to college. Was many, many years as the concertmaster of my high school orchestra, so I thought I was really good. And then went to college and got truth told to me. And after that, I went in as music ed major, for which you have to take a lot of different instruments. In order to be able to teach them, you have to know how to play them. And during the semester for my violin year, I was like, I already know how to play violin, so why don't I try viola? And I tried viola, and it was much better for me specifically. I was a much better player on it, and I never looked back.
Well, we're so happy that you didn't look back. But, so how old were you when you first were introduced to the violin?
10 years old.
10.
So it's an easy mathematical problem, but I'm not going to tell you what the answer is, how long I've been playing.
Well, I was 8 years old in 3rd grade at the Northeastern Grammar School. And Robert King, who was the director of music for the elementary school, the junior high, and the Oliver Ames High School, had 6 of us come into the basement of the Northeastern Grammar School on Main Street, and he had violins for each of us. And they must have been the small version for kids. And he taught us how to play the violin. And so 3rd grade through 6th grade, he was our teacher. The violin was free, the lessons were free. He was building his future orchestra because he directed the high school orchestra and the junior high orchestra. So he was planting the seeds and creating his musicians. And it was wonderful. And by the time I graduated, I was concert mistress of the high school orchestra. And it was a wonderful experience. And I have been in love with the violin, and now I am in love with the viola because of the rich, wonderful tones, and you bring them out so beautifully.
That's very sweet of you.
What's it like to play that instrument for you?
What a question. It's Very hard question, because it's work for me, right? I don't pick it up and play it for pleasure, but I'm so blessed to have that work. It's like when I'm performing, it's always like I'm in a museum. I'm always playing something with amazingly high quality that, it's almost that anyone who wrote music, not everybody, but so many people who wrote music, wrote it because they have something to communicate, something in their heart. And my job is to find what's there and to play it back for the best of my ability. So I don't just sit down like many, many people do and just play. I play with intention most of the time. But it's I would say the love of my life, but I have 4 kids, I can't do that. But it is something that's been a constant in my life since 10. And I've been more or less dedicated to it over the time.
Well, your dedication has paid off so beautifully. I saw you playing at the Immaculate Conception Church during the Christmas season. I think last year you were in the orchestra for the Messiah, and it was wonderful. And I noticed that you have had quite a repertoire of performances. And the one I really liked was when you were at the Brockton Public Library with Michael Korn, who's our good friend and director of music at Oliver Ames High School and conductor of many orchestras in the region. And you were a member of his chamber group. So you were really cast as a star, each of you.
That was such a treat to do. We were playing the Shostakovich 8th String Quartet. I might have the number wrong, but it's an extremely famous string quartet. And Michael grew up in Russia, and his father played that string quartet under Shostakovich, with Shostakovich coaching. And it's the chance to play with someone who's that close of a connection with the composer is, you can't do that with Bach. He's gone, right? So it's just really, really wonderful to be able to work with him. He's an incredibly musical person. And Easton is so lucky to have him as the music director.
Yeah, he is fabulous. But all 4 of you were fabulous. And I had not known that about Michael's father. That's quite interesting. Anyway, and by the way, they lived in Siberia because, and was Shostakovich, was he in Siberia?
He spent some time in Siberia. Shostakovich didn't get along very well with the, I can't remember which, he rubbed wrong against the communists many times.
I see.
And he was actually, Michael would give you a much better biography. He knows much better about him. But he was in Leningrad in the siege of Leningrad. But he also had spent some time that he was sent to Siberia. Mm-hmm. So, but I think that probably Michael's father was working with him after the war, and I can't give you a time period. He didn't actually tell me, but...
Well, Michael, I have interviewed him several times, and I think the last time we talked about how many Jews who were fearful for their lives because of the pogroms moved to Siberia to be sort of out of the way of all of that. You know, they were in an area which was distant and bleak in many ways.
Nobody else wanted the land, probably.
Yes, right. So anyway, so you have often played with Michael, but you have also played with other groups. Can you elaborate a little bit?
I've played for many, many years with the Symphony New Hampshire, which is the new name of the Nashua Symphony. They're celebrating their 100th anniversary, this year. For many years, I was playing with the Ocean State Chamber Orchestra, which was really lovely. They had a wonderful conductor who was based in basically Providence. I played with the Brockton Symphony. We just had a concert last weekend, actually with Michael, who was a guest conductor with Brockton. I was principal in Plymouth for many years. I've played with, I can keep listing, but I've been a substitute with the Portland Symphony Orchestra and, just many, I used to be in the Vermont Symphony Orchestra. But a lot of these things happen pre-kids. It's very, very hard to do that much traveling when you have 4 children at home.
So Kathy, let's not forget the 2 times that you have performed at my church, Holy Trinity Lutheran, on Lincoln Street here at Northeastern, and your music was just magnificent, as it always is, but it was very special. And tell me, wasn't it Good Friday?
Yes, the Good Friday, they put together a video during the COVID, the year of real lockdown in COVID. And I think that your pastor, it was his first year there, and he decided to put together a video which had all kinds of different things in it, which was just lovely to play for. And it's the first time I've been in that church. I've driven by it many, many times before. But I have some pieces, and viola is very appropriate for it, kind of meditative. And the piece I played by myself was a piece by Hovannes, which is, it's got its elements of tear-jerking, right? It's a very profound piece in a lot of ways, and it felt really appropriate to do it in the church.
Yes, and we use video and Zoom, I guess, and during those times. Well, Pastor John Polk is quite an extraordinary person, and we are so blessed to have him as our pastor. And so, for example, he initiated a Remembrance Day of Remembrance for the transgender community, and that was because so many of the transgender young people are murdered. So this was a memorial service for those who had been murdered in the past year, and it's something we do every November. And for those of you out there, please join us to pay tribute and memorialize those murdered young people. So I believe you and Michael Korn and your chamber group got together and provided wonderful music.
We did, and it was a wonderful experience. It's amazing to be part of that kind of a service and to pay tribute in that kind of way.
Yes, and your music does pay tribute.
Oh,
Thank you. It was wonderful, and we hope to see you again at Holy Trinity Lutheran.
It's a joy to play there.
Yeah, thanks. And the community is always welcome to Holy Trinity Lutheran, and especially a day of remembrance. So keep that in mind. And how old are your children?
They are now old enough that I could go back to traveling if I wanted to. My youngest is now a senior in high school.
I see. Okay. So you get the greatest joy from sharing your musical magic. And I'm sure you get so many people who come up and, as I did, and have words of gratitude for what you contribute. And can you remember one particular experience where you really were satisfied and felt just so appreciated?
There is one concert that was just amazing. It was a trio concert for 2 violins and viola. and it was the first concert we gave on the island my husband is from. And
this was in Greece?
In Greece, yeah, in the island of Naxos. And we had talked to the priest and gotten permission to use a little square outside of the cathedral and put together a concert, and we'd worked on that music, and there's nothing written for two violins and viola, but there are a couple of pieces that we found that were beautiful. One is by Dvorak, which is an amazing piece, but usually there's a cellist. There wasn't a cellist available, so we put together this concert, and we played it, and there were people all over that square. They had put chairs out. There are staircases all over the place. There were people sitting on the stairs. There were people going back on both sides of the walkway to the cathedral. And just the feeling of joy that they had live music there was amazing. And I think that that's what I would say would be my most memorable concert.
Well, isn't that great? And of course, it was special also because of your husband's background as his Greek ethnicity. There I go, ethnicity. Well, you understand.
Yes.
And he must have been a wonderful partner to help and support you during all these years.
Yes, he pushes me. He is also a composer and a pianist, a very good pianist, and he teaches at Berkeley. And every so often he gives me a project which is a little bit better, or a little bit harder than I expect that I'll be able to do, but I usually manage to come up to the standard that is at least reasonable. It's good. It's good to be pushed.
Yes. So he's at the Berkeley School of Music that we all know, and some of us have attended those free concerts where the students perform. Mm-hmm. So he's teaching piano?
No, he teaches music composition.
Oh, composition.
And, well, music theory. So knowing how to put the notes on page so that somebody can actually reproduce them.
Right. So since both of you have the music gene, how did that fare with your 4 children?
Well, they didn't have much choice. All of them studied piano, and usually they took up a second instrument. My oldest went through violin and is now playing double bass. She does it even voluntarily now. She was in a little band this summer, we'll call it. My second played trombone from elementary school and has now picked up guitar and what else? Well, he whistles all the time, but there's other things that he does. The third one has not come back to his music yet. He did his piano, but he's now our tech expert, so he would really enjoy all the cameras in this room. Which is good, though, because then he does our advertising videos in the summer. And the youngest actually still plays piano, played violin and viola, but really was always a dancer. And so she's doing dancing. And I just got a thing from her dance teacher saying that, yes, you can play a piece that she can dance to for the scene, for the recital when at the end of the year.
How
so
nice.
I'm looking forward to that project.
Of course you are. Mother-daughter collaboration is the best, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So. Wow. So, and dancing is a form of music, the rhythm, this, all that. So, so what do you see for your future?
I'm starting to recalibrate my career a little bit. I'm enjoying the teaching. I've gotten quite a few new students, and my studio is now very varied. I don't have as many violists at the moment, but I have some extremely strong players, some beginners, and some people in the middle that are working hard and coming up, and hopefully will find some of the joy that I find in playing in orchestras.
Can you tell us where your school is located?
In my house.
I figured that.
Yeah, I teach out of my house, but I teach kind of in conjunction to several different school systems. So Sharon, of course, because that's where we live, and the Eastern school, I've got several students from there. And then the Foxborough Charter has several students that are coming over.
So if someone were to get in touch with you, what is your contact information?
My email is the best way. I'm not so good about keeping my phone with me all the time. And that's Kathleen Kalageras, Kathlleen, Kalageras, Kalogeras, @gmail.com.
Fine, and we're going to put that up at the end of this interview.
Thank you.
So it's been wonderful to talk to you and for you to share your background and information about who you are. And going forward, I hope that people who are viewing this interview will take the time and go online. You must have a website so they can...
I actually don't.
You don't?
No.
Oh, you've got to get one, Kathy.
I'll work on it. I have to talk to my sons.
Right, the techie.
Yeah, the techie.
What about Facebook? Do you have a Facebook page?
I do, but I do nothing on it.
I see. Okay. Well, you're too busy.
Part of it's that. Yeah. Part of it's that. Part of it's I read too much 1984 growing up, and anything that's permanent record, I'm a little shy of.
So now, in the this year's Messiah at Immaculate Conception on Main Street in Northeastern, will you be participating?
I will be this year, yeah.
Okay, so who are out there, take a good look at Kathy, also Kathleen, and remember her when you attend that wonderful performance of Messiah that Michael Korn is, I'm sure, going to conduct.
Actually, he's not this year.
Oh.
They've brought in another conductor, and I am sorry, but I do not remember her name. I did look at her bio. She works with a lot of choruses, and I think that her primary chorus must be at the South Shore Conservatory. Mm-hmm. So this year, Michael's taking a year off from it, and we'll see what happens in the future, but it will be interesting.
Absolutely. It's always wonderful. And if you like to sing, please be one of the singers. I know I've enjoyed it as both a soprano and an alto, and you're part of the chorus, right? Yes,
the audience actually sings along with the chorus that is trained at the high school. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the musicians are the high school musicians. Matter of fact, one of them will be one of my students.
I see.
I think she'll be my stand partner this year, and we're looking forward to that.
Wonderful. I know it's a collaboration, and I'm sure that the students are so fortunate to work beside you and other professionals.
When I was growing up, I loved it when we had that opportunity. It was really, really special. And if you get somebody who's generous mm-hmm. and encourages you, instead of somebody that's saying, oh, I got to do this with the kids. There are not many people that do that, but if you get somebody who's really generous, it's really an incredible experience.
Well, you certainly are a very generous person. I know you are. And especially coming today and giving us your time in a very busy life that you lead. I want to thank you, Kathy, so much for sharing your life story, your musical career. And for those of you who want to see Kathy, remember again, Messiah, Immaculate Conception Church, during the month of December. Keep an eye out on that. So thank you for coming, and we're going to hear some beautiful music again. It's extraordinary. The instrument is so, the tone is so incredible, and you bring out the beauty of that instrument.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, I'm glad I could. I'm glad that I had the opportunity. I appreciated it. It was a lovely discussion.
Thank you. And for those of you in our viewing audience, this is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen bidding adieu. And in Greek, what is it?
Yasu.
Yasu. Okay. And so until next time, be well.